we can go to, now we turn back on our spectrum, and you see that the spectrum is a bit different to the waveform. It's made up of dots, and when I RAM preview it, hang on, once I RAM preview it with a audio layer, we can see that we're getting the audio coming across the spectrum. This is what a lot of like music channels use. No copyright sounds. You can go check them out. They do this in their videos. So does I think Vital FM and Monster Cat Media, but they use a plugin that I'll tell you about at the end. So the start point end point is the same as the waveform. The path does the same thing. However, you can get a lot cooler, I think, effects with spectrum. Polar path is mapping it to polar coordinates. So if you've ever seen like magnetic field around Earth and how it sort of curves out from the top, comes out and then comes back in the bottom, that's basically, no, I don't want to do that. That's basically what's happening with this. When you use polar path, it's creating like sort of a polar coordinates. So I mean, it's pretty small there. I might actually scale that up. I'll just zoom in. So, I mean, it's going to look pretty dodgy, but that's the effect that it creates when you use polar paths. Stop that. Okay. So I'll untick that for the moment. The start frequency and the end frequency is in audio. You've got, that's in hertz. So basically the start of audio is 20. Audio ranges from 20 hertz to about 2000 hertz, and like say your bass and your drums, your kick drums, your bass drums are all down the end of the frequency, whereas your treble and stuff is all at the top of the frequency, like the top end towards 2000. So if you change this frequency, say from 20, and we change this to, I know, like 200, we'll only be getting frequencies between 20 and 200, which means you can isolate the bass. So, I mean, I don't know if I've got that right. Well, you know, you can see in the RAM preview, not much is happening. And actually, as we get further on, we seem to get some bass. Yep. Okay, so you can see that right at the end, just as some of the bassy stuff came in, it was really not, it was just to the bass. So that's what you can do with that. It's quite powerful. I mean, isolating that. So, and that's, I think, what Monster Cat Media, that's what they do with theirs, is they isolate the frequency to the bass, and that's where you get those nice rolling sort of bassy curves in their spectrum. Frequency bands is just like the samples in waveform. It's the amount of sort of, so you can get a really smooth line going. Of course, that's set for the frequency there, but you can see it as the bass comes in that it's really smooth. And the height is the same. It's just like how high you can go, or how high you can go. Change that back up. The duration and offset are the same as in waveform. Thickness is the same. It's just changing the thickness of your spectrum. You don't want too much of a thickness and too much of frequency bands, because it'll just start looking ugly. I've seen so many ugly audio things on YouTube, it's not funny. So you just need to not overuse the tool. And softness, what I like doing with the audio spectrum is having no softness on the start layer, and then say duplicating the spectrum layer, either giving it full softness or you give it a Gaussian blur, of like effect blur, Gaussian blur, and then just do like a couple of pixels or something, and then it just sort of gives it this nice outline. Hue interpolation is basically, it's something you can sync in the next tutorial I'll go over, but pretty cool. You can sort of give it a rainbow effect throughout it, and I'll show you how you can sort of sync that to the audio itself. But at the moment, just live with that you can change its colors and have multiple colors in it, unlike the waveform. Color symmetry is, basically you're creating a symmetrical rainbow with your interpolation. If you take that off, it's going all the way along the color spectrum. Dynamic hue phase is basically you're limiting all of the colors to that spectrum. So you've got all the colors in that spectrum. If you take that off, it'll only show a few colors. Display options, again, you've got analog lines, or you have analog dots, but I think the most popular for this is digital. If we turn down our frequency bands, you can see it's just sort of cooler. But yeah, dots, well, I mean, lines is pretty cool. I'm not a fan of dots, but side options, you don't need to worry about that. And duration averaging, is the same, basically just taking the average of the audio, because you're going to get lots of different, the spectrum pulls out all of the different bits of audio in all the different frequency bands. So it's getting, say, down the bottom, down here, you've got 20 hertz as your frequency, then you've got 2000 hertz up here, so it's going to put everything along here. But if you hit duration averaging, it's going to sort of average that out more so and get you main, it's just going to average it out more. In composite on original, the same, it's just giving you back that background. Now I said I was going to talk about a plugin quickly at the start, and that if you have a Mac, there's a free plugin which does both of these and more. Unfortunately, I don't have a Mac, but it's called, just let me look here, it's called VEEYOU, so VEEYOU, and you want to look that up, because if you're on a Mac, it's free, and it's excellent syncing, excellent syncing tool, and it gives you a lot more options than these. So, I mean, stay tuned for the next tutorial. Leave me some feedback in this one, but stay tuned, because we're going to get into a lot more exciting, and basically next tutorial I'm going to teach you how to sync anything, not just using these spectrums. So thanks for listening. If you liked this video, don't forget to leave a like or favorite it if you want to come back to it again. I'd seriously advise subscribing if you want to, keep up with the rest of these tutorials, because I'm going to be releasing them over time. So yeah, and also leave a comment below saying, what success you've had, or maybe post if you create a sync using either of these. Post it as a video response, and I'm going to approve it for you. And 99% of the time, I'm going to reply to any of your comments, questions, queries, because I'm not that big, and every time I get a comment, it's a little, it's a bit exciting. So be sure to leave those comments and keep me going. Alright, this is TGmars. Thanks for your attention, and I hate you, Windows. Goodbye.